Hello there. I am so excited to share a Pinterest manager success story. I think that when we can hear other people's journeys and stories, it helps give us an idea of what this could potentially look like for ourselves. So I love sharing wins from my Student Manager Academy. If you follow me on Instagram, which you probably do if you're watching this live, I share them to my stories all the time, but I love sharing these success stories live where I actually get to chat with one of my students. And I'm going to ask one of my amazing students today, because I am sharing a Pinterest manager success story, just to share more about her journey becoming a Pinterest manager and what that's looked like for her. So Adriana Sim is going to be joining me today. And bear with us as we have her join here in a minute. But I just wanted to share, if you are new here, I am Emily Vales. I'm a Pinterest marketing expert and coach, and I love serving clients. But now I've really kind of pivoted my business, and I still do have a few clients, but I really focus on helping and coaching women start their Pinterest management business. And I say women, but I actually do have a few men in my academy as well. So I'm so excited though, like I said, to share Adriana's story. And let's see. Okay. Hi, Adriana. I know you're here. I think I just accepted your request, but I'm trying to see. Let's see here. Yay! There we go. Hi, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. Hope it's not too echoey in here. Can you please let me know if my headphones are working okay?
Yes, your headphones are working perfect. Not too echoey at all. I'm just noticing too, did you get your hair cut?
Yes, I did just
Oh my gosh, I love it. You got a lot of
Thank you.
cut. How much did you
Yeah,
have taken off?
oh, like a this might be off.
Oh, also multiple inches.
Yeah, I'm in
I love it.
centimeters, so I don't know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you know what? That is a perfect segue. I kind of already introduced myself and also you, but I want people to hear from you and even just like the conversion, you're like, I'm centimeters. So I would love, Adriana, we'll just go ahead and dive right in. Of course, this is super casual. I would love for you to share where you are currently located in the world, and also just about yourself and your background prior to the academy, because you have such an amazing, which everybody does, has a unique journey and story. But yeah, I would love for you to share more about yourself.
Okay, so I am located in Romania, Europe, Eastern Europe, and it's 7:30 p.m. at the moment. So I have a 7-hour difference with most of my clients that I've learned to navigate. So most of my calls are taken at night. And prior to becoming a Pinterest manager, I was a blogger, full-time blogger for a while. And prior to that, I was a dentist and orthodontist for 12 years. So my journey has been very winding to get here. And I'm still a blogger. I still work on my own projects, but this is how I discovered Pinterest. And this is how I discovered that people actually get paid for Pinterest. So my mind was blown because I had already been using it for over a year with great success for my own blogs. So yeah, I guess we'll get to that, to how I discovered you in the academy. But ever since I was a kid, I had this love of writing essays, specifically in English, although it's not my native language, and I kind of feel sometimes self-conscious about it because you can kind of tell, but also not all the time. I've been in the States a few times, so that's how I know. And basically, I kind of made a mistake when I decided to be a doctor. I wanted to be super practical, and it was like the best paid option out of that or being a lawyer, much like many driven students decide to opt for in America, I suppose. And it's kind of like a tunnel. Once you go into those 6 years of studies, 3 years of residency and all that, you can't really get out easily. Mm-hmm. So you say to yourself, okay, let me just specialize and niche down and niche even further down and do this and do that. And at some point after the pandemic, when everyone was shut down, I was finally at home for 2 to 3 months. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I want to work My husband works from home, so I wanted to do that too. So that's how I got to blogging. I always enjoyed writing. I started with SEO. I fell in love with keywords and geeky stuff like that. And Pinterest is a lot like that too. So that's what I love about it. That I don't have to stray too much away from researching keywords and writing, basically, and images, which is an added bonus.
Yeah, I love that. And oh gosh, from that, I have so many things I want to ask you. Your story is just so amazing. And I think that so many people can identify with your journey because I feel like, in a way, and of course, there's cultural differences. I mean, depending on where you are in the world, but I do think it is a very common path. And what, I was really brought up to think is, you go to college, you get a job, you have that stable income. And the thing is, depending on, it's a little bit different with you being a doctor. I was a teacher and I kind of knew, I knew what I was getting into for sure. But, you mentioned too with the pandemic and then having that taste of being at home. And, when we do, especially with you investing in not just monetarily, obviously, in your education, but all of that time, then, I don't want to speak for you, but I would think that then you feel like, okay, like I spent all of this time, like now, I'm going to see this through and work for multiple years. And, I'm sure that you were passionate about it, but it sounds like that at some point that shifted, and it sounds like around the time of the pandemic. So I would love for you to share because, you had such, an amazing career and a very stable one. How did you go about that transition, and like how are you feeling, thinking about that? And of course that's education you'll always have, but that's a big transition. So I would love to hear more on your thoughts because I have other people tell me that, like, I work so hard to become a nurse, or, we all work hard, and it's even if we feel burnt out in that career, there's a part of us that it's hard to let that go because it's like this took a lot of effort. So especially in your situation, I would love to hear you speak on that and how that felt and like what that transition looked like.
So the transformation was twofold, meaning that I was kind of forced into it. I always had a longing for it, but didn't even fathom it was possible for many years. And then I don't even know, just like I don't remember stumbling into your YouTube channel, but I know what triggered it. I don't know what's made me stumble into blogging. So whenever a patient would cancel, I would be like, yay, and go to my computer and work. And I had this as a side hustle for maybe 1 to 2 years before I decided to quit. And it was twofold because I had chronic pain.
Oh.
Still, I can do, unfortunately. And also anxiety and panic attacks which were job related, which in the meantime have resolved just as soon as I quit. So that in itself is huge because it's not always like a mental health issue. Sometimes it's just your life, like your environment, and it's your body and your mind screaming at you, because it was telling me for a long time, but now it's like screaming at me to quit. And it had gotten so bad that I went to therapy for it and trying to kind of change my own mind and stay on track and give this another go and all that. So it was just really bad. And once I decided to quit, I found somebody to replace me. I gave them a 6 months notice. And I would tell myself, when my blog makes $1,000, I'll quit. When my blog makes, okay, it wasn't making that much. When my blog will make $500, I'll quit. It was barely making that. And one day I just and said, I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
And 1 month from that, I got pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
4 years of trying. So it was kind of like when the stress was finally relieved. It's a cool story.
Yes, I was gonna say, I didn't know that part of your story. That's amazing. It was almost like your body saying, like, okay, it's okay now. Like, that is so crazy. And I just want to say that, yes, that's incredible. It's when you think about it, like you said, it's your life. It's so much more then, and the thing is, it's like, of course we need money to survive, but at the same time, if you feel like you're losing the quality of your life and, the joy in the day to day, it probably made you feel like in some ways it's like, I just want to commend you for making what was a really hard choice, but doing what was the best thing for yourself and clearly, your family too. So once you left, did you ever feel that like pull to want to go back, or were you just like, I am so happy?
No, it's kind of still driving my wish for success, because it's kind of like hanging over my head. If this doesn't work and that doesn't work, then I'll have to go back, and that's just not an option.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with the field itself. God forbid I still go to my dentist and have plenty of friends.
Yeah.
But it was such a clear indication that I should have followed my gut at 18. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I was right all along.
Aw.
But back then, there wasn't even Facebook. And so how could I have known
Yeah.
about all the internet stuff? I'm 38, almost 39, so it was a long time ago.
I know. I talk to
Yeah.
people about that all the time where, and it's kind of like a double-edged sword because we live in this incredible time where you really can make a great income from home and doing something that feels right to you. You don't have to do something that you're like, doesn't feel right, or there's a lot of options out there that people are like, I know this is not going to work for me. But at the same time, I think it can be confusing because there are so many now what feels like opportunities, but at the same time, it's definitely better than the alternative where, like you said, I was telling somebody this the other day, I'm like, Instagram was like a new thing around the time like when I was graduating college. Like it would have crossed my mind what I am doing now. I mean, that was never a thought in my mind. Like I said, I just, went with the path of getting my degree, getting a job. And so it's crazy once you're in that job, though, it makes me feel for people who, like, you feel like you don't have any other options. And it is scary taking a chance. And I will say, like I've mentioned before, that my situation was definitely different because I wasn't making very much. So, that made it a little bit easier when I wasn't making as much to walk away from that. So, like I said, your story is so incredible and I love hearing about it and learning more too, because obviously I knew parts, but some of that was new information to me and I think it's so cool. So, one thing I wanted to ask you about, because I find in the academy, and I'm sure you've seen with being in the community, some people come in and they literally have zero background knowledge. You are so different because you had already impressed me before you enrolled in the academy, because you mentioned you had your blog, you had grown your Pinterest. And I want to say too that for anybody that's thinking about, hiring a Pinterest manager and working with Adriana, I was really blown away with how fast you grew yours in a year too, because I always teach in the academy that Pinterest does take time because it's a search engine, and it's better to just explain that so that you're on the same page, with your clients. But at the same time, there are definitely exceptions to the rule. And you were, I feel like, an exception to the rule because you had grown yours to such, I mean, it was amazing how much you grew yours through Pinterest and that traffic. And what you were blogging about was very niche. So I guess one thing that I would love for you to
Yes
share.
and no. But I'll talk
Yes.
about that later.
Yes, I would love for you to share about that, but also, I guess, because this was something that I sincerely was wondering about when you enrolled in the academy, because you did have your blog, you were an excellent writer, you had grown your personal Pinterest account for your blog, why you wanted to enroll in the academy when you had so much background knowledge, I guess.
Well, I knew how to use it. I knew how to be the client. I didn't know how to be the provider of the service. So I had serious self-doubts when it came to my presentation. Like even learning about a simple portfolio, which then turned into my personal website that I'm continuing to work on, was so empowering to me. And then came the information about where to find clients and then how to approach them, cold pitches and all that. And finally, the systems really blew me away, and I still use your systems to this day. So for me, it was a how to get clients, Pinterest clients course rather than how to learn Pinterest. And not because you can't learn. I did learn a couple of scheduling methods that were new to me from your course. So I did learn something new about using Pinterest as well. But since I already knew that stuff, I had taken like 3 courses before that. I was pretty confident and I had grown my accounts. I was pretty confident that I could accomplish that. But interestingly, niche plays such a huge role because I see that my clients using the same methods aren't growing as rapidly as my own niches, curiously. So I am learning that the hard way now because I would give them my websites as examples and we're not always getting the same results. So niche plays a huge role, the age of the account, if you're just getting started and all that. But it's still early in the game because I've only been in the academy for 4 to 5 months. So yeah, don't look at your analytics before, like don't take them into account up until 8 to 10 months old. My second blog, which is indeed very niche, the teeth one, the braces one, blew up at the 10-month mark.
Wow. And that's such a good point because I will say my personal one, I feel like it was around like 12 to 14 months where I'm like, okay, now something's happening.
Yeah.
So.
And with the gardening one, it was around the 4 to 5 month mark, and it was just insane. It went from 0 to 10,000 outbound clicks or 11,000 outbound clicks in 5 months. And I don't know.
Adriana, that is incredible. But you know what? You hit such an important nail on the head though. Like you have grown these different accounts and they are in different niches, and it speaks volumes about your versatility and what an amazing Pinterest manager you are. And I think that what happens though is sometimes that doubt can kind of creep into our minds because we're like, wait, why am I not getting the same results? And I know that with one of your clients, you've shared stats and you are just like have such a high level of excellence that I think that it's hard not to compare. Like you want that same growth, you care about your clients and you want that same growth for them as well. And the thing is like you said, you could apply that to a different business, a different niche, and you don't always get the same outcome. And I remember I was like, wait, you are increasing their traffic. Like the outbound clicks are up, the saves are up. But I think that when you've experienced that like exponential, like skyrocket growth, that, you feel like it should be easier to replicate. And it wasn't luck because you've done that for, multiple accounts. Like you obviously know what you're doing, but I think it's good for whether people are thinking about becoming a Pinterest manager or a business owner who might be listening to this, that it doesn't look the same business to business. Yeah. And sometimes that's kind of like a hard pill to swallow. And especially for Pinterest managers, it can be frustrating because some clients, I'm like, I look pretty good. Like these stats are amazing. And then other people, I'm like, I am working so hard and doing all of the right things. Why is this not growing as much? So that part can be really challenging. Do you feel like Oh, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that for some clients, even getting them a couple of thousand clicks would be amazing. Yeah. And if you would approach a blogger with that traffic, they'd be like, excuse me, what do I do with that? That's like $100 in revenue.
Yes. And that is another important point too, as a Pinterest manager, when you're thinking about who you're going to work with and ultimately what their objective is, what they're trying to accomplish on Pinterest, they're going to have obviously, different expectations. Whereas for me, I'm happy with multiple hundred people going to, and that would be like nothing for a blogger. Yeah. So it's so, it is so interesting. And we've had that conversation, I know, inside of our community. That is something to take into consideration depending on who you're working with. Everybody's, what their thoughts of good will be is going to look a lot different. So I guess now that you're in the academy, because I know that you mentioned one thing that you were looking for was essentially how to be the provider and have those systems, because you did have so much background knowledge and you clearly knew what you were doing with marketing on Pinterest. It's challenging to get clients. So I would love for you to share what that's looked like for your business and maybe some of the challenges that you've experienced, but also, some of the wins. And I have to say, one thing that's always like stood out to me about you is your consistency. And even though things are challenging and you have wins, but then there are things that are really frustrating too, like overcoming that. So I guess to kind of summarize that, how you've acquired clients and really what that journey has looked like, the successes and then maybe even like some of the frustrations.
Yeah. So I am currently sitting at 4 clients, but I am starting my 4th one in August, but she is committed. And I do have a 5th friend from Romania. She sells furniture, and I just offered to test Romanian markets for free for maybe 4 to 5 months. But who knows? Like if it works, because we only have 2 million users here. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's
Much
not
smaller.
nothing compared to 500 million. But anyway,
Yeah.
so it started off really interesting because I got all those testimonials really quickly from friends, but then I was also in a bloggers group. And I just messaged, I mean, it was just on the forum. I posted there that I offer work in exchange for testimonials. And somebody just reached out and said, when you're done with setting up your business, I want to have a call with you. That became my first client just like that. Which
Yeah.
now I see is so insane because I have been cold pitching hundreds of clients, leads and companies, and I haven't gotten a single client yet from cold pitching. And as you well know, I've tried to shortcut a lot of methods and maybe not be so thorough with my messaging, as you taught us in the academy. I'm now slowly reverting to that and sending personalized pitches. But basically all my clients came from warm leads, so people who already ready to begin and I found 2 of them from your intake form. Pretty excited about that. And just today I even got 2 more responses from your form.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. And
Yeah.
1 discovery call scheduled.
Oh, that's awesome. So when you're thinking about like your goals moving forward, because the thing is when you are a high achiever, it's hard not to think about like, okay, like I still have a decent amount before I'm going to be where I want to be. But in my opinion, I'm always like, I'm so amazed by you. And like that fact that you've even run ads for clients and the stats that you shared inside the academy, I was so impressed. And I continue to be impressed with you. So I know that it was interesting. And that's the thing about getting clients. Sometimes it almost feels like occasionally like luck. And it's like, I've worked so hard with the pitching. And then that first one, I didn't realize like that. I just about that one. But it was part of you taking action though, with even just doing the testimonial work. So I really feel that, sometimes we're not I shouldn't say a lot of thought. Of course you were if you're taking action, but it was something that maybe didn't feel like, oh, I'm going to get a client out of this. But some people even have a hard time showing up and even just trying to get testimonial work. And so I would love to hear. Yes. So I would love to hear you share, like, especially for people who do struggle with like maybe that imposter syndrome. And I think some people like it makes them nervous even thinking about doing something for free because it's so new to them. And like I said, your situation was a little bit different because you had grown your Pinterest account, but because you have put yourself out there so much, it is paying off for you. And like I said, it can feel like a slow burn for sure, but you are 4 or 5 months in and I'm like, oh my gosh, like you do have multiple clients. And, especially with what an excellent Pinterest manager you are, I'm like, I would love to see you continue to increase your prices too. But could you share like any tips or advice for people who are just getting started and feeling like they're having a hard time putting themselves out there, or maybe feeling some of that imposter syndrome since it is just probably so different than anything they've done before?
So maybe it's an unpopular opinion here, but I would just start with either a friend's account or create your own blog. Even if, creating a blog can be kind of tough and a steep learning curve, but just spending 3 to 4 months on something that's your own, you can already see so much that's happening and experiment so much. And then you can try different scheduling techniques without fearing that you are experimenting on a client on their own money and not having any clue what you're doing. So I do believe in like internships and mentorships and stuff like that, where you kind of do something for free for a little bit, because I did this for free for 2+ years, Emily, for myself, but it was kind of free because I wasn't making any money. So,
Yeah.
so I'm doing it again because now I know what I'm doing, and I chose a parenting niche for my third blog, and now I'm going like straight for Pinterest. And because last time we spoke, I had to get the maximum amount of Pinterest clients possible. But now I'm kind of reversing a little bit on that because I want to split it kind of 50-50. If something ever happens to me offering freelance services or Pinterest management, or I'm not able to take on as many clients, after those years, I want to have something left behind.
Yeah.
You know, because as freelancers, you only get paid if you work.
Right.
So I also want to have a different model, like you have your courses, which are also require a presence, but they're maybe a bit hands-off compared to Pinterest management. So my advice would be practice on your own stuff or practice on your friend's stuff for a little bit. I think even 3 to 4 months is enough to see something, and learn design and learn Canva and learn Tailwind. Those are pretty big learning curves for somebody just getting started. And then in the meantime, look for clients, because you probably won't find them in your first 1 to 2 months anyway. So, I mean, for me, it was kind of like a stroke of luck. My first 2 clients, or even the third one, they were, I got them in the first 2 months. And then for the next 2, 3, 4 months, there was nothing. So it's not as easy. I wasn't even looking that hard. So, and also when it comes to putting yourself out there, I have started doing more mindset work and getting into more woo stuff like law of attraction, something like that. And I truly believe that the person who's right for you, you don't have to convince them. You don't have to work that hard during your discovery call. Because you need to convince somebody and they feel doubtful and they feel off to you, then your entire working relationship will kind of be like that. And if you have calls with them, you'll always feel self-conscious. If things aren't growing like you would expect, it can just give you it gives me some anxiety in situations like that if I don't feel very good. And I have that for my orthodontic patients as well. Because whenever I didn't like a patient, I would just feel awful treating them sometimes.
That's such a good point. And you know, it's hard when in the beginning we're like so hungry for experience, and it's such a big milestone to get that first paying client. But you bring up such a good point about even just like the energy. And anytime I have tried to like push that aside, because I'm like, well, I know I can help them on Pinterest, but they're, you know, like you said, and I feel this way even about people enrolling in the Pinterest Manager Academy. Like, I am not in the business of convincing anybody to do anything. Like, you need to be like, I'm committed to this 100%, because that's the energy that I, you know, put into my students. And so it's the, like you said, it's like that with client work. And I love that what you said about like not forcing things, because then it creates that feeling of like discomfort. And like you said, if you have calls or it just feels off, and anytime I tried to push that aside and be like, no, it'll be fine, like we just got to get over the hump, that intuition or that instinct that it wasn't a good fit was always right on. And like you said, the right clients will find you, and you will find people that you have amazing working relationships with. But sometimes it does take time, and it took me, I felt like, a couple of years to really build up a solid client base where I didn't, you know, I had more clients coming to me than I could really serve. And of course, we all want to get to that point, but like it took some time. And so it's hard when, you know, you want to experience success. But to your point too, you said, you know, I got a few in the beginning, and then it was kind of been a little bit dry. And I even find that with like the higher form. I love having that for my students, and I share it on Pinterest and on Instagram and TikTok, and even through email marketing. And you know, it's one of those things where it'll be like we have multiple leads in one day, and then it'll be a few weeks and it's very quiet. So I think that continually trying to like plant seeds or take actions daily and not just focus on client work, but doing some of the other work that could potentially lead to clients. Like you said, that you've set so many pitches, and the fact that you've taken different approaches and that you've been very consistent with what you're doing, it's one of those things where I've had other students in the academy be like, somebody said it's a not now, but maybe later. And I have had that happen, and you're like, okay, well, that's probably a no. Yes. And then I have had people come back multiple months later, or even where a current client ended a contract, and then like a couple months later, they wanted to start their contract again. And I'm like, oh, I loved working with you the first time. So for sure. So, that's the thing about business. It ebbs and it flows. And that's one of the hardest parts about it for sure. So I want to respect your time. I know it's the evening there. But I wanted to ask you one more question. So a lot of people, when they're thinking about becoming a Pinterest manager, and I just feel like I sense, even if you're like, oh, I wish I was further in some ways, I sense like an unwavering, like this is going to work and I will make it work. And I really feel like that you have to have that mentality. What would you say to somebody who's like, how do I know if it will work? Because I get asked that a lot. And so because I see such an opposite in you and in your mentality and in your mindset, what would you say to somebody who feels that way?
I would say you don't know if it's going to work. With these kind of careers, you never really do. I was a blogger for 2.5 years until Google came with an update that turned the internet on its head, and thousands of fellow bloggers had to go find jobs after maybe 10 plus years of blogging exclusively. And that would have happened to me if I didn't find you, Emily. So, because I didn't know if I had it in me to start again. But as someone in a mindset group that I'm currently in pointed out, she was like, "Are you married?" And I was like, "Yeah." So, just out of curiosity, how many boyfriends did you have? It's like, what? Did you stop at your first one? You just go, okay, I'm there.
Yeah.
No, just kept going until you found your husband. So that's kind of, because I was like, I really want to be blogging right now, but look what's happened to blogging. She was like, okay, so you failed two times. Are you gonna try again, or just say that's it, I quit? So that's kind of, you have to decide how much does it matter to you, and how much do you really like it, and just really search in your gut if you actually like doing this, because maybe it's just something that you think would be like an easy job on the internet. FYI, it's not, but it's easier than other jobs.
Yes. I know. You make such a good point, where sometimes when people, and I mean, if you wanted to have like dabble and have one or two clients, I mean, I guess you could, but to me, I feel like there has to be that like drive of like, I need a new career, like I need a big transformation, because it's not easy. And like you said, it's not like, and so if you're looking to make some side income, then it's
the thing with these online careers is that very few, less than maybe 1%, really make it to that level of I make 10K a month in 5 months of trying this for the first time. That, in my experience, doesn't work. And I'm not very business savvy, so maybe that's my mistake. But I would say to people doubting this, that you have to either be willing to pivot and choose something similar. If this doesn't work out for you, you can try something closely related, or just be really determined that, okay, that strategy didn't work. Let me choose this strategy. Let me try this spinning method. Let me try. And plus, Pinterest is really getting saturated right now, because all of us ex-Google bloggers are flocking on the platform right now and spamming it basically, because everybody's like volume over quantity these days. And I'm not seeing as much growth as I saw 2 years ago on Pinterest. So
I've experienced that on my account, actually. It's
growth or lack of.
lack of, because it was actually in 2022 when I was like experienced like exponential growth, and I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. And then it was right around the time that Pinterest announced that idea pins they were going to give us a link, and they did away with creator rewards. I was making like multiple thousands a month just from creator rewards, which is amazing. And then, yes, they abruptly like ended that in December of 2022. And I'm like, okay, that stinks. But whatever. At least I'll have links for idea pins. And I kind of felt like that was like Pinterest like throwing us a bone, like, here, this is what you really wanted, right? And so they said that about links for idea pins. And then in May, that was when essentially we went to like all pins. And that was just like last May of 2023. But I would say around that time, like late 2022, when the creator rewards ended, it was so weird how I felt like steadily my account has, it's just not grown, and I will say too that because I do have a lot of sticks in the fire, to your point, like you do have to be like versatile and try different things. And I should have that freedom in my own account where I'm a little bit more creative in testing things. And like I said, I just have a lot of other things that I'm paying attention to that I haven't been as creative with my strategy. And what you did a couple of years ago, like it's not working the same for me. So it's definitely interesting how that works. But
I just
yeah.
want to say that I was thinking that another way that I would pivot if that happened to me and it didn't work, people still need traffic, whether that's tens of thousands of outbound clicks or just a couple of hundreds, and maybe try to find those people who thrive with just getting fewer clicks and not focus on the businesses that need a huge volume of clicks. So
Yes, and
maybe that will be one strategy.
yes, well, I think that, some of the students in the academy, they've been thrilled with their growth, and it will be good growth. Like, I mean, it might be 10 to 15%, like, month to month that they're experiencing, but I know that it's not equating to the type of volume probably that a blogger, and like you said, so, even sometimes maybe pivoting with who you're serving, or, the expectations that they have, especially if times have changed. So that's a very good point. So
Lastly, as someone who hasn't made a lot of money blogging because it was always a false start, always updates and stuff like that, I still find Pinterest management the absolute quickest way to make enough money to basically almost live on in just a few short months. Now, if that's not a sudden career change, I don't know what is. So it is
wow.
promising. Like, you won't make a fortune, you won't make 10K right off the bat, but you can make 2K in half a year, or 4 to 5 months. So that's pretty good.
Yes. Oh my gosh, what an amazing like parting thought, especially with like how much time you have invested in blogging and doing that. That's really helpful for me to hear too. And it does take time, and of course, like we all want to get to like 5K month or 10K. And I did hit 10K months and even beyond, but it took me multiple years, and also adding in different services and adding in premium services. And then when you get to new levels, you have new challenges. And I kind of felt like in some ways I'm like, okay, now I need a totally different client base, because who I'm serving organically is not who's interested in spending $1,500 on Pinterest ads, So there was new challenges, but to your point, it's been a sustainable and stable. And of course, like you said, it's maybe not like 5 or 10K in the first few months, but that's actually what I experienced. It took me longer than you for sure, but that was the whole point of the academy too. Is my hope obviously was that it doesn't have to be, I want to say it probably took me like maybe 7 or 8 months to get to that point. Gosh, my first client was $200 a month, so that takes a little while to get to even $2,000 a month if you're charging that little. So that was
a lot more.
yeah. Right. Well, I also didn't know what I was doing. So you are truly like somebody who, I mean, I really believe, I'm like, I would trust you with my account. Like, you are an expert, truly. So anybody would be lucky to work with you. So this is a perfect segue. I would love for you to share how people can contact you if they are interested in working with you and want to learn more about your services.
Sure. For now, you can find me on my website, adrianasim.com. Maybe you'll have it in the links.
Yes, I will share that.
Yeah, and I am working on setting up my IG and my Facebook page is there, but I am not very social at the moment. That's just extra work that I will do, but one thing at a time. So yeah, adrianasim.com, that's where you can find my services and my contact form, and you can even schedule a discovery call right away.
Yay! Perfect. Okay, so I will make sure to put that in the comments, and also I'm going to share this to my Instagram stories, and I'll make sure that your website and your contact information is there so people can book a discovery call with you. Yeah, I can't thank you enough for your time and sharing your expertise and your story. Like I said, there's like so much that I learned about you that I didn't know. So I really enjoyed chatting with you, Adriana.
The pleasure was all mine, Emily, and see you soon.
Yeah, see you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.